Hey guys, welcome to another devotional with me, Pastor Adam. Today we're going to be talking a lot about pride. But before we get into that and our memory verse for the day, let's see how you're doing. Enjoying the warm-ish weather? School's about ending. That only means summer vacation's coming soon. How's your devotionals coming? Still doing it each and every day? I would love to know. And now let's get your mouths moving and play a little Would You Rather. The first question is right up my alley. Would you rather own a lightsaber from Star Wars or Baymax? You know, the inflatable healing device from Big Hero 6, Big Puffy White Guy. Which one would you rather have? Super Baymax? Lightsaber. Number 2. Would you rather find and keep $1,000 that you find in a toilet, or have $5 that you find in a jacket pocket? $1,000 toilet, or $5. Third question. Would you rather have 2 cooking lessons from the famous internet celebrity Gordon Ramsay, or have the Joanna and Chip Gaines redo, rebuild, redecorate a room in your house? Silly, weird, let me know. Today's memory verse is going to be coming from Proverbs 16, verse 18. It says, "Pride goes before destruction, a haughty spirit before a fall." Proverbs 16:18. Pride goes before destruction, a haughty spirit before a fall. Today we're talking about pride. Before we get going on what pride looks like and the example that we're using from the Bible, let's talk about what it means. Pride is an unreasonable, inordinate amount of self-esteem, an excessive love of self, a desire to be more important than others. You know, there's nothing wrong with taking pride in your work. Like you do really well on shoveling the driveway. It's good to have pride in a job well done. But today we're talking about pridefulness. That means having an extra, too much pride in yourself, thinking that you're better than everyone. And this is dangerous because the Bible calls pride a sin. It's dangerous and very easy to do too, to have too much pride. Today we're going to be looking at the example of the Pharisee and the tax collector from Luke chapter 18. In Luke 18:9, Jesus starts off this story with saying, "He also told this parable to some who trusted in themselves they were righteous and treated others with contempt." So, Jesus starts off by telling a story. This is a story with a lesson. Remember what we call those? A parable. And he qualifies this story with a lesson, this parable, by saying that the people he told this to trusted in themselves because they thought that they were more righteous, because they thought that they were better than everyone else, because they looked down on the people around them, because they thought they were better, because they thought they were more righteous, more right. So Jesus has a great story, a parable that picks out a great example from their own lives. And it's a comparison between two. And as you guessed it from the title, it's a Pharisee and a tax collector. So let's read verse 10. 2 men went up into the temple to pray. One a Pharisee, the other a tax collector. All right, so 2 men, most likely Jewish, went to the temple to pray. The temple had open prayer time at 9 a.m. and 3. Those are times to be seen, so I'm assuming it's going to be the first time of the day, 9 a.m. But it doesn't really matter. The Pharisee and a tax collector. Let's talk about these two. Let's talk about the Pharisee first. Pharisees were a group of Jewish men who were very, very influential in society. No, they were not social media influencers. They were teachers of the law, highly respected by everybody. Highly respected. Then there's a tax collector. If the Pharisees were highly respected, The tax collector would be the opposite, very much unrespected, because they were Jewish men who collected taxes from people, the taxes that the government, that the Roman government deemed on people. But the thing was, these men were usually dishonest, and if Rome said, you need to pay 20%, they're going to be like, yeah, you need to pay 30%, and 10% goes to themselves. They were dishonest. They abused their position. They were thought of as piranhas, bottom feeders, sinners. So far, this is a clear example of Pharisee, tax collector. It's a face versus a heel. It's a good guy versus a villain. But let's get into them a little bit together. Verse 11 and 12 tell us about the Pharisee. The Pharisee, standing by himself, prayed thus: God, I thank you that I am not like other men, extortioners, unjust, adulterers, or even like this tax collector. I fast twice a week. I give tithes of all that I get. Oh, okay. So there's the prayer of this Pharisee. He's convinced that he's a public person, that he's a better person. Excuse me. Because he starts off his prayer by doing it right away. Because it says in verse 11 that he's standing by himself. He prayed. So he's doing this in public, in the middle, so that he can be seen. Praying that he's thankful to God that he's better than the average person. You know, these tax collectors, these immoral, unjust people. I'm thankful that I'm such a better person than them. See, he thinks because he's the average person is this right here, and he's a little bit better than that makes him a good person. That's pride. He's not humble at all. And then he adds on to the reason why he is so prideful is that he says that he fasts 2 times a week. The Old Testament said that you were to fast Monday and Thursday, so he fasted twice a day. That's without food and drink from sunup to sundown. Nah. And to make that worse, better, he tithed. He gave a lot of money to the church. And does this make him good? No. These are nice things to do. But he doesn't show any want or need for God. He's just bragging to anybody who can hear him about how good he is, about how good he thinks he is, about how much he donates, about how he's just not a terrible person. That doesn't make you good. This is a great example of pride. Then comes the other shoe, the tax collector, verse 13. But the tax collector, standing far off, would not even lift up his eyes to heaven, but beat his breast, saying, God, be merciful to me, a sinner. I tell you, this man went down to his house justified rather than the other. For everyone who exalts him will be humbled, but the one who humbles himself will be exalted. All right, so as we saw the public display of the Pharisee, now comes the tax collector. Verse 13 says that this guy doesn't go in public when he prays. He goes off to the side so that no one can see him. Not public, very private. And then he doesn't look up towards heaven, to God, but instead keeps his head down and starts hitting his chest. Why? Because these are both signs of guilt, of somebody who doesn't think they're worthy of God, to show that he is asking for mercy to be shown on him because he thinks of himself as such a sinner. He has this opposite of prideful view of himself, that being that he is not a good person and he needs mercy. This is the prayer of somebody who wants God in their life, unlike the Pharisee. This man realizes he is a sinner and in need of mercy, in need of God to save him. Which man is more righteous and humble? Well, the tax collector. Who's more filled with pride and arrogance? The Pharisee. You'd think it'd be the other way, but it's not. The Pharisee probably got praised a lot in public, and praised himself a lot too. That's why verse 14 tells us, I tell you, this man went down to his house justified rather than the other. Everyone, here, listen to this part. Everyone who exalts himself will be humbled, but the one who humbles himself will be exalted. The one who humbles himself will be exalted. The tax collector humbled himself before God, and it says here that God will exalt him. Pride is dangerous, and as Psalm 10 tells us, in this pride, the wicked does not seek him. In all his thoughts, there is no room for God. Today we talk a lot about pride and how it puffs up, makes you think you're better than the commoner, than everyone else. Gives you a false sense of importance. Pride is bragging. Is more than just bragging and boasting. It means it's more of arrogance. It's dangerous. The attitude of pride is extremely dangerous in that it blinds us to our true condition to God. And today's story showed us how the Pharisee was blinded in how he is a sinner and he doesn't see it that way. We got to be more like the tax collector in that, in the humility in seeking ourselves before God, getting mercy from God, the one who saves, the one who loves us, the one that can help us. See you next time.